So Compass is a sort of CSS meta framework built with SASS. It's a meta framework because it's not like a Blueprint or 960, in that it doesn't. It basically lets you use Blueprint 960, but without tagging up your HTML with all those nasty like span 12 or being like 5 columns. So here is a column-based layout for the Compass. In HTML, I just do semantic markup. I have a headers div, page header, subdiv, files header, description header, a content div with my grocery list in it. And over here in the CSS is where I actually put all the columns in. So I want the page header, which says my groceries to be 6 columns, the files header to be 8 columns, the description header to be 10 columns, and the grocery list should not have any bullets in it. And that's what these are, they're mixins. So they're basically a little function invocation that adds CSS rules to the current net version.
How do you find the number of columns for a page?
That would be something I forgot to put in the CSS file, but for the index you put a like blueprint or columns, in this case 24.
So it's we're using grids, like we're using blueprint, we like grid 16.
Yeah.
And you need to find them in CSS while grid 16 equals like 6 with them. Is that?
Yeah. Well, so in the I think it's blueprint for the year
960 or whatever.
So
960 span instead of grid.
But if you
That's the syntax there.
Yeah.
If you have blueprint, you can say plus grid 6.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
And instead of doing it in the classes
Right.
of the page, which sort of turns into kind of like tables 2.0,
Right.
you do it in CSS where it's supposed to be.
That's cool, so it inherited kind of like the book.
Yeah. Yeah, so in Blueprint, should use a table for this and not just...
So you should just, I'm confused. To use Compass, you still have to use some CSS framework?
You can.
Let's say I don't want to.
Okay, then there's
So
really no reason to pull in Compass, and you can just go with SASS then.
Yeah.
Compass is a framework for hooking a CSS framework into your style sheets versus your HTMLs.
Okay.
What can you put into Compass aside from the grid layouts like 960
I think that's pretty much it.
It's got a lot of cool mix-ins.
Yeah.
It's got like a bunch of CSS3 mix-ins as well to makes it really easy, and it's got a lot of cool things like that. No bullets. There's a bunch of things for doing, just little comments. There's this utility library within contests. Just all these stuff, this stuff that you repeat again and again and again in CSS, and it's. You can use that without using the blueprint.
Okay.
Just that alone just makes it all.
Okay.
The way that works. The way that goes with like 960, if you build your own the layout sheet, so you can pick I only want 8 columns, right? You can use that, or can you only use like the default 3 that come with the stock?
I'm not sure how it works with 960.
Okay.
If you're my Indiana presentation, I'll look it up.
Well, or
Yeah.
because you're adding in 2, say, page headers, span 6 being that properties of span 6 instead of 2 that are the class.
Right.
Does that make the CSS file like extremely heavy? Because it's a lot of repetitive code. So you have header page 6, span 6, and then only the next one span 6 as well. Because you repeat the CSS when you...
I suspect it has to.
Yeah.
So one option would be to mitigate each of these rules being duplicated is to make them a bit more general. So, well, I guess it's sort of back and forth. You can either have really specific rules and just have your HTML have semantic IDs, or if you make more general rules, your HTML starts to be more layout based. So it's a choice between semantic HTML and that style sheet. Versus a more like table-based HTML and smaller style sheet.
The way that I usually build is like I'll kind of like prototype just the way that it does. Say, okay, let's span 3. What I do is I melt that away by just adding whatever the semantic class is to the. So if it does it that way, it's not really going to make it heavy because it doesn't repeat. The styles, it would just append your class name to the declaration we already have. Right, like if it says span 5, like then, so it can be smart. It's possible for it to be smart.
And I guess the mitigation for that is your server's gzipping style sheets anyway, so all the repetitive stuff is going to really address well. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
So this we just kind of had this discussion, but in Blueprint or traditional CSS framework, your layout's tied to your HTML. In Compass, your doc construction is in HTML. In Blueprint, your text formatting you can do in CSS, but in Compass you do all the layout and formatting in CSS. Don't mess up the Blueprint styles if you're using plain Blueprint. In Compass, you just mix in the Compass styles whenever you want them. And this is marginally better than tables because each element in your document has like its width encoded in it and everything. Whereas with Compass, you can build a layout and then later you go into the CSS and change it without having to mess with every HTML inside. So HAML is a bit older than SASS. SASS is still part of HTML, but they announced like 2 weeks ago they're going to be separate. And they were originally built with Ruby on Rails in mind. So this is like the only Rails thing to do. For Rails 3, put gem HAML Rails in your gem file, and now your Rails project is HAML. Whenever you generate a new view or controller, it'll output HAML for you too. I forgot to research for this, it sounds apparently. So any more HAML and SASS questions?
Yes. So if you do that, basically when you write your views, you can write them in HAML.
Right. And in Rails 3, if you're using the HAML Rails gem, the default scaffold views will actually be in HAML too.
So it is a different block, or is it
With Rails, because it has, with Rails traditionally you use ERB, which is like PHP style, and it was doing the conversion on the fly with those anyways. So this just changes what class it uses to do the conversion. And that was one of the big changes in Rails 3, is that they never easy to write.
How does that affect the performances?
I don't have the benchmarks memorized.
Come on.
Yeah, well, yeah. For a Rails app running in production, the views get cached pretty aggressively. So anything that takes a long time to convert the HAML into like waiting HTML strings gets done once.
Does it have like is it smart caching that is that anything that HAML is cached, but we blocks for the Rails?
Right, so this is kind of getting like really noodly in Rails tutorials. But for both ERB and HAML, whenever it takes the style sheet and just goes through the document and rewrites it as string concatenation in a Ruby class. So it basically gets it to native Ruby speed once it's done parsing. Any more questions? Alright. So that's not showing up very well on the screen, but we've done HAML, SASS, and Compass, and these are the more code-heavy programming ones. So next up is CoffeeScript.